Okay, picture this. It's 1917, and two young girls in a quiet English village take a photograph that will absolutely change their lives and, for a time, fool the entire world. But was it just a clever prank? Or did they somehow capture actual proof of another realm? Let's dive into the incredible story of the Cottingley Fairies. And get this, at the very heart of this mystery are two absolute legends. On one side, you have Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the guy who created the most logical detective of all time, Sherlock Holmes, and he became the photo's biggest believer. And on the other side, his friend, the master escape artist Harry Houdini, a man who spent his life exposing exactly this kind of fraud. Their friendship would be tested, and their clash really defined this whole strange affair. So how on earth did this all get started? Let's go right back to the beginning, to the photos themselves, the ones that lit a fire under a global debate. You know, it all kicks off so simply. In July of 1917, two cousins, Elsie Wright and Frances Griffiths, they borrow a camera to snap a picture down by the stream behind their house. And where'd they get the idea for their subjects? A popular children's book. The final result? An image that was about to become world famous. But here's the thing. To really get why anyone took these photos seriously, we have to understand the world they were born into. It was a world completely shattered by war, and people were desperate, just desperate for a sign of hope. This single number, it explains so much. Nearly every single family in Britain had lost someone. The sheer scale of the death was just unimaginable, and it created this huge vacuum of grief and a deep collective ache for something to believe in, something beyond this grim reality. In that kind of atmosphere, spiritualism didn't just grow, it absolutely exploded. People weren't just curious about an afterlife anymore, they were desperate to reconnect with the sons and brothers and fathers they'd lost. The entire nation's heart was broken, and it was searching, just searching, for any sign that there was still some magic left in the universe. Which brings us right back to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I mean, you would think the creator of the world's most logical detective would be the last person to fall for this. But for him, it wasn't about logic. It was deeply personal. The war had destroyed his family. He saw these fairies not as some childish fantasy, but as light infantry from the spirit world. See, for him, if fairies could be photographed, it was proof that the souls of his lost loved ones also still existed. This wasn't just a picture. It was hope. It was salvation. But it wasn't just grief that made people believe. There's a really powerful scientific reason why so many people were convinced. And it all has to do with how our brains are literally wired to see things that aren't actually there. The key idea here is called pareidolia. It's actually an evolutionary survival trait. Our brains are hardwired to find patterns, especially faces, in random, chaotic information. It's what helped our ancestors spot a predator hiding in the bushes. And the girls' blurry, kind of low-quality photos were the perfect trigger for this. I mean, think about it. When you see a face in the clouds or a strange figure on the surface of Mars, that's just your brain doing what it does best. It's forcing order onto chaos. The public's brain didn't see scraps of paper. It saw what it wanted to see, connecting the dots to create a living, breathing being. Okay, so if it wasn't a miracle, how in the world did two teenage girls with a basic camera pull off one of the biggest hoaxes in history? Well, the method was kind of genius in how simple it was. The method was so brilliantly simple, and that's exactly what made it work. Elsie, who was a pretty talented artist, literally copied illustrations straight from that popular children's book. She drew them on paper, cut them out, and then just used ordinary hat pins to prop them up in the leaves and grass by the stream. That's it. No complicated darkroom tricks, no double exposures. The whole crime happened right there in the open, right in front of the camera lens. And this table perfectly shows how they fooled the experts. This photography expert, Harold Snelling, he was looking for signs of manipulation on the negative itself. Since he didn't find any, he declared the photos were totally genuine. Kodak, on the other hand, was way more careful. They basically said, well, we don't see any studio work, but they also look exactly like paper cutouts. Of course, the believers just ignored that second part. So why on earth did they keep the secret for 66 years? Well, once Elsie's mother, who was a passionate believer, and then Sir Arthur Conan Doyle himself started championing the photos, the girls were completely trapped. A little childhood prank had spiraled way out of control. If they admitted the truth, they would publicly humiliate the very adults they loved and respected most. Their silly game had become a prison of secrecy. Okay, so let's jump to the end of this unbelievable story when, after more than 6 decades of silence, the truth finally came out. But of course, it wasn't that simple. The confession came with one final, absolutely tantalizing twist that keeps this mystery alive even today. So in 1983, the women finally came clean. Elsie was crystal clear. All 5 photos were faked, end of story. But Frances, she insisted, right up until the day she died, that while the first 4 were definitely hoaxes, the 5th photo, that one was 100% real. She claimed that on that day, actual fairies showed up to be photographed. And the legacy of all this? It's just wild. The very tools they used for their deception, the camera, the original photographic plates, even recreations of the paper cutouts, have become priceless historical artifacts. They've sold for tens of thousands of pounds at auction. The fraud itself became a cultural treasure. When you really think about it, the Cottingley Fairies story is such a powerful reminder for us today. Their simple trick exploited the exact same human quirks that make us so vulnerable now. The technology has changed for sure. It's gone from paper and hat pins to AI and deepfakes, but that fundamental question is more relevant than ever. In a world full of manipulated images, can you ever really, truly believe your own eyes?